Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too. All right, welcome in. When I was 19 years old, I played on a semi-professional football team. I've never actually told this story before. I haven't really talked about it too many times, but for some reason I was thinking about this the other day, thinking about just the time I spent on the team and stuff like that. And I had a lot of fun, And since then, I moved, got married, had kids. And so everything's kind of gone pretty fast. And all of a sudden it's, 11 years down the road, and haven't never really spent much time thinking about it. And I was, so for some reason it came up in my head the other day, and I was thinking about this guy I used to play with. He actually wasn't on the team for very long, but so it was kind of a startup team. It was if you know what arena football is, this was like outdoor arena football. So it was 8-man football on a 50-yard field outdoors. It was a ton of fun. It was so much fun. I only played on the team for a year because then I moved away, and then was thinking about joining another team. Ended up working, going to grad school, getting married, all these things. And so anyway, just played on the team for a year. But I was a receiver. Got to play a little bit of quarterback, running back. Got to play a lot of different things. Played defense as well. But when I first came on the team, they gave us a playbook. And I remember I went home and I just studied as much as I could. I wanted to learn every single play, and I had to learn multiple positions. I wanted to know what every single person was doing. I wanted to know what everybody was doing on the field, and so that I could do my job better, right? If my job as a wide receiver, I knew what the other wide receiver was doing. If I could know what the running back was doing, then if somebody got hurt and they had to switch positions or something, I could just jump right in, and then it gave me more of an opportunity to play as well. And then our team wasn't super big. You have injuries, things like that, and so I learned the defensive side of the ball too. And so I knew the playbook really well. And I knew the playbook probably better than most, if we're being honest. But one day we had a guy who came and tried out for the team, and he was he had probably 50 pounds on me. He was fast, he was big, he was strong, and he lined up on the opposite side of me. He was on defense. I was receiver, and he knew this was his very first day practicing with us, and he knew every single time it was going to be a pass play. He knew every single time I was going to go out to block, and I couldn't figure out why. And it was kind of frustrating because this guy was brand new, and I knew the playbook so well, and I was running the play correctly, but it's almost like he knew exactly what I was going to do before I did it. And he came up to me, he said, "Do you know why I know what you're going to do?" And I was like, "I have no idea." He said, "Because you have a tell. You have a tell." He said, every single time it's a pass play, you do this thing. And every single time it's a run play, you do something different. And I never noticed it before, right? I never watched for it. And now that I knew exactly what I was doing, I look for it all the time. And especially I see it in college a lot, not as much as the NFL, but you see it a ton in high school football and in some colleges as well, where guys who are very, very well, they have a lot of just natural ability and they have a lot of skill, but you can tell the difference when it's a run play or it's a pass play, because they know the ball's not going to come to them, and so they do something different subconsciously. They have no idea what they're doing it. And it's really funny. I thought that was really funny to me because when I played baseball, I was a pitcher, and I was left-handed, so I kind of had an advantage to kind of keeping that runner on first base. But every single time I threw over to first base, I would do something different. And I had a coach on the other team one time tell me, he said, "I can't figure out when you're going to throw over here." And I was like, that was the coolest thing anybody could ever tell me, because that was exactly my purpose, right? I didn't want anybody to know when I was trying to pick off somebody. And I got pretty good at being able to pick people off. But when I was playing football, I didn't know. I didn't know that I was doing it. And it took somebody else seeing what I was doing. This was this guy's very first day, right? He was obviously, he was stronger than me. He was bigger than me. He was probably faster than me. And obviously, like, he had a lot of knowledge about the game, and maybe somebody told him, right? But I only knew what I knew, right? I only knew what I knew. I didn't have the value of outside eyes until someone told me. And once he told me that, it was never an issue again. And now, would other teams have picked up on that? I don't know, right? Maybe they would have, but when one of my teammates who I had just met an hour before could pick that up, then yeah, it was probably something I had been doing a long time and had never even noticed. And the same thing happens all the time. Same thing happens all the time with fitness. Same thing happens with nutrition, right? I have, the opportunity to work with clients both in person and online. And a lot of times, people think they're doing one thing, and then I will film them and show them what they're doing. And they're like, wow, I had no idea. I thought my arm was going way further back. It feels like I'm doing this. A lot of times we think we're doing something, but when we actually see what's going on, it's like a completely different picture. And so just having that expertise, having a coach is so valuable, right? I have my online clients. Obviously, I'm not there working with them. They're spread out all over the state, all over the states. But I have them film themselves and then send it to me, and I can give them feedback, and that's very helpful for a lot of people. And the same thing goes with your nutrition, right? You think, I've been eating really well. I've been trying to incorporate protein. I've been trying my hardest to, kind of stay away from these things. I'm not even eating that much. But you only know what you know, right? Maybe you forgot that Charlene in the office brought some cupcakes this morning. Or it was somebody's birthday, so they gave you a treat, right? Or maybe you forgot that when you went to Starbucks this morning, you asked for a small coffee, and they upgraded you to, a large mocha frappuccino or venti or whatever they call it. I don't know. Maybe that's the small one. I don't know. But a lot of times we don't actually understand the full picture, right? I remember my son was at gymnastics, and the way it's set up is you could sit above and kind of watch the kids. Pretty cool setup. You can watch the class as a parent. And these two kids were messing around in this class at the end of the line, and the teacher turned around and she started talking to one of the other kids who she thought it was going on, and she had no idea. She only saw the very end of it, and the kid that she ended up talking to actually wasn't the one doing it, right? And that happens all the time as a parent, as a dad. That happens on the regular. You don't necessarily know what's going on. You only know what you know, right? So you try and get both sides of things. But the same thing happens all the time with our nutrition, right? We think something's going really well, and we're not quite sure why. The scale's not changing, but you're probably not as consistent as you could be, because you just don't know, right? You just don't know. And that's the value. That's the value of having a coach. That's the value of having somebody help you, right? I've been coaching for 7 years, and in that time I've hired multiple coaches myself. One of my first client, not one of my first, in the first couple of years I was coaching, a guy I worked with. He was a trainer, and he had a lot of experience. He had a lot more experience than I did at the time. He had the opportunity to go kind of get mentored under some other great coaches, but he hired me to be his coach, which was pretty awesome because he knew a lot, and then he trusted me to be his coach. And then through that process of coaching him, we kind of bounce off ideas off of each other and kind of learn, this is why I do this. He had a certain way of coaching. I had a certain way of coaching. And then, he only knew what he knew. I only knew what I knew. we start having these discussions, and I think that's really cool. And so that kind of opened my eyes to the value of a coach. So I've hired multiple coaches, typically sometimes for just 3-4 months at a time, but it helps me learn. It helps me learn other things. It helps me, get to kind of have a fresh perspective, and then be able to apply that to my clients too. I've had multiple business coaches, right? They're all different. They're all helping you get to a point, but they're all different. They all do things different, and you know you can get to where you want to go on your own most of the time, right? You can get there to a point, right? But if you've never gotten there before, it makes a lot of sense to get help, to have the guidance of somebody who's been on that path, who's been on that path on their own, and has helped other people down that path as well, and help lead them to where they want to go, right? You're the hero of your life. You're the hero of your story, right? Nobody's going to do it for you. The best coach in the world, you can hire anybody you want, but they can't do the work for you, right? You have to take the initiative there. But a coach can help guide you to where you want to go. The power of outside eyes, the power of having somebody, keep you accountable with a fresh perspective is, it is absolutely incredible. I think it's the closest thing we have to a cheat code in life, right? It's like having like your own personal, teacher, right? You can find all the information you want online, right? You can find a workout program, you can find nutrition, but how do you apply it? How do you apply it? That's what a great coach does. A great coach is going to help guide you to where you want to go and help get you there much quicker than you ever could on your own. That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.